Astronaut Scott Kelly, back from an amazing year in space, an amazing landing. Scott, welcome home. Describe the first impressions you had when the hatch was open, you smelled that cold, crisp air, and your first thoughts back on Earth after a year.
The cold air was amazing. Fresh air is, the air. I don't mean to say it's not fresh on the space station, but there's nothing like new cold air coming into the capsule, and the actual burning smell of the capsule smells a little bit like some kind of fragrance. It's kind of an odd smell, and I actually thought it was the vegetation initially, so that was different, I guess.
You vowed before you launched a year ago to avoid the calendar, to stop looking at the clock, to mark the passage of time, but it must have been an overwhelming feeling of relief when you got outside and your mission was at an end.
Yeah, I think I did a pretty good job of that. I wouldn't say it was a relief. It was, leaving the space station was bittersweet. I've been there a long time, so I looked forward to leaving, but at the same time, it's a magnificent place and I'm going to miss it. So, mixed emotions, I guess.
You talked a lot during the mission about missing people back on Earth. So when the crowd was around you outside the capsule, what did you think with all that adoration being heaped upon you and your crew?
I thought it was great to see all those people there, especially you recognize a lot of the people, friends, and people that you've worked with, in the U.S. and in Russia for in some cases decades. So it was great to see everybody.
You said in the change of command ceremony the other day, you looked at Misha and said, "We did it." Did the enormity of what you really have accomplished here, a year in space, has it washed over you at all? Have you had 2 seconds to think about it?
Well, when I said that, I was trying to make a point, and I said, we have been saying to each other, we did it, but it's really not about us. I mean, there's a lot of, thousands of people that go into this, and their jobs are just as important because it's kind of like a link in a chain. If you break one of them, the chain breaks. So everyone's important in doing something this complicated. So it's great doing it with him, though. He's a great guy.
The mission's over, the science begins now, and it was all really about all the biomedical work to try to begin the journey to Mars, learn more about the ability to stay in space for a year or more. How do you feel, and looking back on it, how difficult was this year aboard the station?
A year's a long time, I felt like I'd been up there my whole life, after about the first 6 months, which is like the normal increment. The normal increment is about 6 months, and that's a long time. So a year is really, really long. But I'm definitely encouraged on our ability to go even longer. I mean, I kind of, even though I look forward to coming home and there's things that I miss, I felt like if it was for the right reason, I clearly could have stayed, however long it took.
Okay. And finally, Scott, looking back, if you had to sit down right now and write an account of the most significant accomplishment of your year in space that you spent with Mikhail Kornienko, what do you think it would be, and what do you think the most lasting impact will be of this odyssey?
I think, expanding our envelope and our ability to operate in space is something that's going to take us further from this planet. I believe that is doing that, exploring and developing technology to do so is very important to our economy, to our way of life. So I think Misha and I were a small part in doing that, and I hope we continue to do it, and I think we will. And by going to Mars one day, it'll make things better here on Earth. So I'm happy to be a part of that.
Mikhail Kornienko back home on Earth after a year in space. Misha, congratulations on your mission. What were your first impressions when you left the Soyuz capsule and saw all of the people around you and smelled fresh air?
Михаил Корниенко, поздравляю с возвращением домой после годового полета. Скажите, пожалуйста, какие у вас были первые впечатления после того, что как вас извлекли из капсулы «Союз», вы увидели всех людей, которые находились рядом с ней, и какие первые впечатления?
Ну, первое впечатление – это воздух, когда открывается люк, это воздух Земли. Я хотел весь мой полет, наверное, как мой коллега Скотт, я хотел увидеть Землю, обнять Землю, я почувствовал воздух Земли. Это незабываемое ощущение.
First feeling, of course, and first impression is the air back on Earth. During the entire flight, just like Scott, I wanted to see Earth and I wanted to smell that fresh air. This is an unforgettable feeling.
Я увидел вокруг себя очень много друзей, и американских друзей, и российских, и казахстанских. И, конечно, это impressive, как сказать, да. Это меня очень поддержало. Они сделали все для того, чтобы мы выполнили эту миссию. И я надеюсь, что мы ее выполнили достойно.
And I was very happy to see so many friends around, Russian friends, US friends, Kazakh friends, and it was very impressive for me. They did everything for our mission to be successful, and I hope that we did it successfully.
And finally, Misha, a year in space, as Scott has mentioned, a very, very long time, but you pulled off an incredible accomplishment here. What would you consider to be the most significant accomplishment of this record-breaking mission aboard the International Space Station?
И, конечно, еще раз, Михаил, годовой полет – это очень серьезное достижение, как об этом уже говорил Скат, это достижение серьезное, но как вы считаете, что самое важное вам удалось достичь на борту Международной космической станции в рамках этого годового полета?
Мы выполнили очень много научных экспериментов, выполнили их целиком, полностью. Ни один эксперимент не был отменен или как-то завален, что ли. Вот. И я надеюсь, что все результаты, они, конечно, будут еще обрабатываться на Земле дальше. И вот этот результат, который получат ученые вследствие нашего полета, конечно, он должен оправдать этот годовой полет.
We conducted a lot of scientific experiments successfully. We did not fail any as far as I am aware, and we're so glad about that. And the results of those scientific experiments, they will continue to be analyzed by scientists here, and I hope and think that this is our major accomplishment.